So here's a problem I have. This used to be the little area where I had my grow bins. I had a couple of grow bins there, and Samuel and I tried to do a Three Sisters garden here, but it didn't work. And that's because this little area doesn't get quite enough sun. The house shades this in the afternoon a little more than I'd like. So we're going to tear up all those bricks. I was getting too many weed. The lawn just grew right in there anyway, and it was hard to weed eat around those bins. Too difficult. Also, I need a place to put my fig plants. They're getting bigger, and all these pots need a place to live that's not my patio. I'll leave some of them there, but yeah, this is getting too big, and I've got to have somewhere to put them that's stable, and the weeds don't grow up in between all the pots. And so a cheap deck that I can move if I need to will allow me to put my pots on something and give me weed suppression. I can get my weed eater right up against it, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go to get some building supplies, get some fence materials, and we're going to put together a cheap movable deck.
How many are those?
Can you count these? You're going to get in trouble up there. Now, if you container garden, you'd be real tempted to buy a lot of these products here, and I usually buy, there's one down there I often buy. But this little corner back here has everything you need to save some money. It has compost and it has peat moss, and combine those two together and you've got your basic potting soil, and you can add some perlite or some vermiculite to give some aeration to your soil. That's the good corner for saving money in bulk. Got some serious garden living right there. This saw is not the saw you want to use if you're building something out of lumber and you need real precise cuts. This is a limb saw. It's very razor sharp. I actually have scars and have cut myself to the bone with this actual saw. But I only have 2 cuts. That's the way this deck is designed. Just 2 cuts for the end caps there. And so I didn't want to haul out the saw, electricity, and didn't want to have to mess with all that. So it works. That's not a bad cut for a limb saw. I'm going to be using a 3-inch wood screw to attach the treated 2x4s, and I only have 3 horizontals and 2 end caps, so it's just really a minimal deck. It's hardly a deck at all. But it comes with a bit. This is one of my own bits, but it comes with a square bit. And with a square bit, you're able to get more positive contact between the bit and the screw, and it allows you to put some force into your into the operation. Unlike a Phillips head, which tends to jump out when you're really trying to get some force in there, these square bits really are they're great. So here's where paying attention comes in handy, because I had Samuel screw these onto the end cap rather than the inside. So we have to start over. That's the benefit of using screws. You can back them right out and you don't have to worry about pulling nails. Trying to work around here, Phoebe. And there you go. Uh-oh. Give it some pressure. There we go. Perfect. Good job. Wiggle. There you go. High five. Let me revise my 2-cut estimate. There's actually going to be 3 cuts, because this middle piece right here, I need to cut 3 inches off the end to account for the width of 2 of these 2x4s on each end. So that's going to be the middle support. Very important to have that middle support for making the whole thing rigid. You want to have at least 3 points of contact for a plank on a frame to help provide rigidity. I guess that's how you call it, tautness, tighten everything up. So I'll cut that, and yeah, it's really easy. It's just a matter of screwing things together at this point. Though they're called 2x4s, they're only 1.5 inches wide, so you have to don't ever just assume that a 2x4 is 2 inches by 4 inches. It is 1.5 inches wide by 3 3/4. And so if you're putting a 2x4 as the inside frame on a frame, and you see I've got my end pieces on the inside here, I'll be taking up that much space, 1.5 inches on this end, 1.5 inches on this end. It has to come off of here. And I'm not being real careful. Again, this is just a kind of a shoddy slap together carpentry project. It's not really that difficult. There we go. Now I'm going to see if I can saw it right here. That'll do. Samuel. You can do it. You see, I thought I had 2 of these in the garage, and I only had 1. That's what happens when you don't check your supply. Thanks a lot, Gary. It's Gary at the Rusted Garden that built one of these in his new place, his new homestead. Go look at Gary's video. I'm going to put a link down in the bottom. Gary's got some good ideas on gardening. In fact, I learned most of what I know about gardening from watching his videos. So yeah, a lot of the stuff I do, I kind of learned from him. So there we go. Thanks, Gary. That's a real nice, satisfying part of the garden. Now I just need to put that one board on there, we'll be done. But what I can do with this is, in the summertime when it gets really hot, all my figs can live right here on this deck, and I can just put an easy up over there, and that will shade these plants in the worst part of the day. My house will shade them in the evening, and they do well under shade in the hottest part of the summer. I had an easy up on my figs a couple years ago, and they did well. Last year I didn't have it, and they suffered. I had to water them at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, and just to keep them going, especially those that are root bound. Also in the wintertime, one year we had a deep freeze a couple years back, got down into the high teens, low 20s for an extended period of time, and I needed to wrap these figs or bring them inside. I don't have any room inside, so I was able to put some T-posts around my patio over here, and I made what we laughingly call the figatorium. And the figatorium was sheet plastic wrapped around some T-posts, and had I kept a lantern, kerosene lantern burning in there all night long. And that kept the temperature just above freezing, and the plants made it through the freeze just fine. So I can do that here as well. There's another reason I need this area to be covered. Right there, right about there, under the deck, about under where my bin used to be, there is a big hunk of concrete with a steel pipe sticking out that I've cut off at the ground. And there's a story about that pipe, and yeah, it's kind of there, and I can't pull that big concrete out because I put that thing in with a vengeance. There was a time when the internet wasn't a thing yet, and streaming video was still new and expensive, but we needed to help our oldest son with his home education curriculum, and the only one we could afford at the time, it was a satellite streaming course, and you had to buy the satellite dish and their equipment, put in a dish. And they cut us a really good deal on it at the homeschool convention that year, only to find out next year they were discontinuing the service. But anyway, yeah, I put in an antenna here, but not before I tried to mount it on my house. Tried to mount it on my house. The satellite was up that way according to the instructions. And man, I worked so hard there. Let me show you what I did. I couldn't get the satellite up there. I couldn't hone in on it because of those trees. So look at this. I used to have 3 Bradford pear trees back here, but I have a stump. I thought by taking this tree down that I would clear space to catch the satellite signal, and I was up there on the roof all day long. I took a day off work. I called in, and my wife was telling me, just call technical support, just call technical support. And I was sure that I didn't need technical support. Well, I did. I called technical support, and they said, oh yeah, we moved the satellite. We're on a different satellite. And as soon as I swung the dish over at the new coordinates, boom, there it was. So rather than put holes in my roof, I came down here and I put a pole in right there and put that satellite dish there, ran the cable up into my house. Yeah, that's the story of why I need to cover this up, because I don't want to see that old satellite pole. It was not a happy experience. There's a little story of our life. Alright, well there's a cheap deck for you. Put my pots on there tonight, and Sam helped me, did a little bit of drilling and screwing the boards together, and just had a good time tonight. So yeah, we're very grateful you stopped by to watch our videos. Thank you. I'll try to get to all your comments. I don't always, it just means I missed it. I try to respond, but we're just grateful for all the subscriptions. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Like us on Facebook, you'll get notifications of upcoming things, and follow us on Instagram too. Occasionally we post some pictures there. So y'all take care. We'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.